Oh, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 6:30 sharp. Will those of you that are joining us please join me and stand for a moment of silence as we honor the men and women that gave the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. Now please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much, Lord, for this incredible evening, Lord. There's so much going on in our beautiful community of Canyon Lake, and we are so blessed to have so many people working hard to make this place an amazing place to live. Lord, I want to put a hand over our amazing leaders like Darcy Burke, Lord, who's making us great decisions on the water board, and our POA members, who are board of directors, who are working day in and day out to try to make our place a beautiful place to live, our state representatives, our supervisors, our city council, Lord, our new city manager, our city staff, everyone that helps make this place an amazing place, Lord. Be with them, protect them, and guide us in the right direction. Wow. And thank you for calling, Lord. And the last thing, Lord, please be with our outgoing city clerk, Anna, Lord. Tonight's our last night with her at Canyon Lake, and be with her family, Lord, and bless her on her new chapter, and be with her, and in your name, amen. Amen. All right, I'm going to have Mr. Bill Van Vliet from the POA lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How can you not love Canyon Lake when we get to start off like that? It's just... I love it. All right. Madam Clerk, will you please conduct the roll call?
Councilmember Castillo? Here. Councilmember Dane? Here. Councilmember Terry? Here. Mayor Pro Tem Welty?
Here.
Mayor Smith?
Here.
All present.
All right. Closed session report. Mr. City Attorney, anything to report out of closed session?
Good evening, Mayor. We have no items to report out of closed session today.
All right. City Manager, welcome. First time in the seat. Anything that you would like to change for our City Council agenda?
I need to know how to use this.
There you go.
No, thank you.
All right. I need a motion and a second on approval of the City Council agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Terry? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Awesome. All right. Moving on to ceremonial matters. Don't be mad at me, but this one is for you, Anna. We're going to do some ceremonial matters for you as our city clerk. So I'm going to, where's the microphone? Because we have a lot to say about you. Mike, you get to join me up here with some stuff. Anna has been amazing over the last, for me, almost 5 years on the council. She keeps us in line. She writes a script for us that we try to abide by. This is not on the script, so she's looking at me like, why are you deviating off of that? But we've put together a little something for you on behalf of the council and the staff. I'm going to make everyone say something about you because you've impacted our lives and you made Canyon Lake, in my mind, a better place to work and operate. Mike is going to say some stuff, but before we do that, we have this awesomeness that is coming your way, but your council has put together a donation to pay for your next Green Bay Packers ticket because we know how big of a fan you are, and we know you go once a year, and we absolutely love you. So all of us have come together, and we're going to contribute to buy your next ticket, so that way, hopefully, the city of Yucaipa will have the same passion that we have for you, and they'll allow you to have that great trip that you do. But I'm going to actually, before allowing my colleagues to speak, just because, you know, Mike describes it as the Three Musketeers. It was always Mike, Anna, and City Manager Chris Mann. And I know this is tough for all of us. It's tough for him too. So I'm going to make you say a couple words.
Yep, like that. Oh boy, you ready, Anna?
Yes.
We'll give her. So just a little history. You know, in 2016 when I arrived here, the day-to-day operations were sort of kind of a mess here. I took it upon myself to do everything possible for this community, for this city to put things somewhat in order. For 2 years, I did that without a lot of help. Fortunately, I did have Ruby here at that time, and she did help with some of that, but it wasn't until you that got here that helped me kind of get through a lot of that we kind of did together. So it's true what Chris says. We are the Three Musketeers, where we're down to 2 and now 1 after today. But I have to personally thank you because I don't think I would ever have made it through this together to the point that we've gotten here today without you. So I'm not going to cry. One thing that's very unique about Anna and city clerks in general, and no disrespect to any city clerks, Anna was very unique because she, like me, took it upon herself to do everything and anything. Nothing was ever beneath her. So because of that, I'm going to cherish that for the rest of my life. So I'm going to miss you. Ukaipa is lucky to have you. So, but we're going to go to games together, so it's not going to make any difference.
All right, you're up. You can have your own mic.
So, I interview to be a city council person, and everything that went along with it. But I met Anna probably 2-3 weeks prior to that when you had to turn in your application. All smiles, very comfortable. And as I get up to leave, she goes, "Who are you?" We get kind of the same people coming in, and I've just never heard your name before. And I said to her, I go, well, maybe that's a good thing. You interview, and you go from having one of those seats to coming up here, and my first interaction with this council was Anna. She swore me in. How do I say this? The first time you get called council member, it sounds pretty cool. She has so much respect for each one of us, and it shows. I've been in business for well over 20 years, and it's rare that you come across somebody who, whether you deserve it or not, makes you feel important, makes you feel like you have value. I filled in for Jennifer Dane at the Student of the Month, and we got to ride together. And just before we got there, she goes, "So you got something to say? You got something prepared?" And I said, "No." And she goes, "Well, generally, you'll go up there and you'll give a little speech." And I literally came up with that on the steps, and I went back to coaching, and I think I did the heart speech. And on the way back, I said to Anna, "Anna, that was a little uncomfortable. I really don't like having to go to something where I have to speak, and then, and I don't know about it." And she says, "Okay, well, I'll be sure to let you know in the future when you have to speak." And I said something else. I said, I appreciate all your compliments, but I really don't think I could have done better." And she stopped me. And she said, "It is my job to tell you the truth. If I didn't think you did a good job, then I would tell you this is what you need to do differently." Anna, we are, God, you've just been a tremendous force here. You make it very comfortable to be a council member. I wish you all the best, to you and your husband, and thank you so much for everything you did.
Yeah, I'd like to start apologizing for all the work I caused you, because you ever walk into a situation, you don't know what to do next, and you go, what do I do? And Anna actually realizes what I need to do before I'm even thinking about what I need to do. And she's always way in front of me. I've gone to events with her, and she grabs me by the arm and introduces me to everybody in the room, and says, hey, you're representing us. You got to get out and let people know who you are. And I can't tell you if anybody I've ever been around that was 3 steps in front of me, like every minute of our engagement. I mean, I think, I finally reached some level of competency, and she'd say, and next, it never ended. So she was incredibly helpful, and I feel like a babe in the woods, and she kind of took me on the journey, and I'm going to miss her terribly. So, thank you.
My turn. Anna has been so instrumental and helpful to me in someone coming into this position that had no idea of what it's like to be in the city government, and has been really helpful in letting me know what I need to do and giving me information and things to do along the way. So I appreciate that very much. Definitely going to miss our best committee ever. It got to the point that when we had events going on that Anna would just know. We could just sort of think about it and it would get done. And it's been a pleasure. And we're really going to miss you. Sorry.
If I look at you, I might cry. Owning a business, you have employees that are just core employees, right? And when we got elected 5 years ago, I think Jeremy and I knew right away you were one of those core employees that we could go to, that we could bounce ideas off of. You've always been professional, but you've been fun. I definitely credit you with the amazingness that has been our State of the City. We had never had anything like it. Your patriotism has been very important to us, and we have been just so grateful for just your willingness to come on days that were not work days to be here for city events like 9/11 and city holidays like Veterans Day. You'd never let us down. You tied all those bows on all those flags for Memorial Day. You were out in our community putting flags in our neighbors and our residents' yards. I personally really enjoyed how excited you got about elections, because it reminded me how important that is. So I hope you take that to Yucaipa. I think that they will find that you fit right in with your love of community and America. And we're just going to miss you, but we fully expect that on those important dates that you'll be in Canyon Lake and not in Yucaipa, because we're going to be waiting for you. But we will miss you terribly.
I want to share a story about Anna, and we all have so many of them, but when we first got elected, when Casey and I first got elected, Anna was actually in the process of graduating and becoming a clerk, and she was going through the whole process, and she invited me and the city manager to attend her graduation, and Mike, and we all showed up. And I was there, and I found out from someone at the event that, Anna essentially paid for that out of her own pocket for us to be there for that dinner. And I'm like, why would she do that? Like, it's just crazy to me that, she cares so much about the community and the city and the people that she's working with, that she wants to invite them out. She's willing to pay for them on her own dime on something that, in my mind, was just an incredible experience. And I'll never forget that. And I held that with me. And we've had so many experiences with Anna because we're just trying to do the best we can up here. And sometimes information's key, and she's always helped us in a time of need. And every time that I've messaged her at 2 in the morning, I think was the last one, I've apologized to her husband first and then her second, but she's just so caring about the job that we're trying to do here. And I don't think anyone in this community has had a bad experience with Anna, and we're going to miss that. And it's meant a lot to us. It's allowed us, in my mind, to put the city in a professional manner that it was lacking and needing, and that would not be possible without the hard work that you have done. And I hope you take that with you to Yucaipa. They don't know what they're getting, Anna. We are loud, and we will let them know what they're getting. They have a lot to learn about what it means to work with you, and I know the council all personally. I know that it's a different atmosphere that you're going to be entering, but I promise you it will get better. And you deserve nothing but the best, and I'm hoping for the best for your family. If you don't mind, folks, we want a good showing. My goal is to try to get a picture with Anna and all of us, because Chris got one and there was like 15 people behind it. I want at least 30 for Anna. So we're going to take a photo up here in the corner, and she's going to hold this awesomeness that she has, and we're going to support her and congratulate her. So please join us up here for a photo, but please give her a round of applause first for the hard work that she's done.
What do you want?
Hide in the back, hide in the back. Hide in the back.
What do you say?
Thank you, everyone, for doing that. Seriously. Your turn, Anna.
This is amazing. Thank you so much. Jesus.
Take the wheel.
I've been working in government for 17 years now, and these last 4.5 years have been the absolute best of my career. I love you guys so much. I have so much respect for each and every one of you. Sorry. I thank you guys for embracing me and for teaching me and for being patient with me and for everything that you guys have done for me. I've cherished our time together on the committees, all the times that I've been able to spend with you guys going to Student of the Month and past council members too. I love you guys so much. I love this community. I may not live here, but I love this community. I've enjoyed being a part of it. And to the staff, to Mike, who hired me and who gave me the opportunity here, I love you guys, and I'm going to miss you guys so much. That's it. That's all I can say. I can't.
It's pretty good.
Thank you so much.
We're going to let you breathe for a while and do some other stuff, if that's all right. All right, moving on. Citizen of the Month. Councilwoman Casey Castillo is going to present our Citizen of the Month.
Something happy? Okay. So I would like to ask Shauna Bowen to come up, please. Our Citizen of the Month.
All right.
Is Shauna Bowen. I know. She does not like this attention. But this attention is well-deserved because, you know, when we pick Citizen of the Month every year, or every month, and then we go through and look at the people who become, you know, our outstanding individual of the year, sometimes it becomes evident that they need to be chosen because of something that happens that month. Or in the case of the last Citizen of the Month, something that they donated to the community in the month of December. But sometimes our Citizens of the Month are people who just continuously give and give and give and ongoing support the community. And not only does Shauna wear the hat of a community member who is involved in the various clubs, the card club, she founded Family Matters along with other individuals. She is the president of the Women's Club. She takes leadership roles when other people shy away from them because it's a lot. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of energy, it's time away from your family, and sometimes, true or false, it's no good deed goes unpunished, right? So, I mean, we all know this. But as a city council, and I think as a community, when we look to see who is at an event or who is in charge of events, who is saying, yes, I'll step up and, coordinate Winter Wonderland with the city, and a name kept coming up as to someone who is continuously volunteering. And for us, we appreciate you. We look to you as an example. I know I personally look at you and go, man, if she can do all that, maybe I can do some of it too. So we're grateful for you. I think some of the other council members wanted to say some words, but on behalf of the city council, we have a certificate here for Shauna Bowen, Citizen of the Month for March, in recognition of being a dedicated volunteer for ongoing commitment to enhancing the lives of Canyon Lakers. So this is for you. Did you get a picture? Do we want to do the whole council, or do you want to, I know some of you wanted to say some things, so. Oh, yes.
No.
I've known Shauna for a long time. I think my son Nick was one of her preliminary children in her group. And there's a kind of a thing in government that basically when parents get involved and their kids are involved, they really drive a ship. And then when their kids age out, they kind of fall off to the wayside. And I got to give credit to Shauna, because when her kids somewhat aged out, she didn't give up. She just kept going and going. And it's those people that don't give up that really drive the ship. So thank you for your years of effort. I appreciate it.
Okay. Do you want to do a picture? Yeah. Okay.
All right, the next is our proclamation for the Canyon Lake Firefighters Association. I'm excited to do this. Gentlemen, can you join me up here, please? Where's that mic at? So in case you guys did not know, we have a fire department here in Canyon Lake. We did that sort of thing. And we are so excited about the service that the men and women of that department give to our community. And in that you can see the dedication that they've given to our community. And they started the association just recently. I actually met with them today, very excited about this. This is an opportunity for them to get involved even more so than they are now. I even heard rumblings that they're going to become associated with the POA as well. So that's going to be great. But they're going to be doing more than they're already doing, believe it or not, if that's possible. This gives us an opportunity to help fundraise with them. They're going to be able to look at different opportunities for students and involvement. So I think this is a great move for our Canyon Lake Fire Department now that they're a certified 501c3 with the association. So we're very excited for them. So on behalf of the City Council, I want to present this proclamation. We're so congratulative of you all, and thank you so much. We're so blessed to have you. This is on behalf of the council. Is there any words that you guys want to say? Yes, thank you. Do you want to say anything? Sure. Yeah, it's on. It might not work though.
Testing. On behalf of the Canyon Lake Firefighter Association, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this. Thank you for everything you guys have done. Thank you for the community, for your support, and we look forward to a long and positive relationship.
Absolutely. Group photo. You guys can't sit down yet. Thank you. All right, moving on to community reports. We're going to start out with our director, Darcy Burke. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, council, staff, residents, guests. First of all, thank you, Anna. You are always accommodating, helpful, and most of all, responsive. So from being an outside stakeholder, when you actually get a response, because you don't always get a response, and I won't go any further than that, just let me
In
tell you that's-
government, responsive? Wow.
It's a thing.
Cut the red tape.
Welcome, Nicole. We're really excited to work with you and keep the momentum that we've been able to build between the city moving forward. I wanted to take a moment and thank publicly our mayor, Mayor Jeremy Smith, for your participation at Urban Water Institute.
Yes.
We kind of threw you into the boiling water, and you did exceptionally well. Jeremy was on a panel that featured the mayor from Riverside, the mayor from the city of Rialto, on how they collaborate with their water district when they're looking at planning and housing and ADUs and all those things. And Jeremy did a splendid job and was a breath of fresh air.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. I have left flyers in the back. We have Splash Into the Spring. It's our community event where we have families come and community members. They can participate in different activities we have set up. You can learn about native plants. We have usually nurseries available also that can talk about planting pallets. We have backflow or cross-connection demonstration, which if you're a water geek, it's super exciting. If you're not, you'll learn it. It's really exciting. We do have heavy equipment. Kids get to sit in it and play, and it's actually quite entertaining, and that'll be March 25th, so I have flyers in the back. Yesterday, we had a kickoff meeting with our staff and stakeholders for our integrated resources management plan, and our city didn't participate. So I'm going to ask a request that we participate in the future. When you have big development plans, if we don't know about them, we can't plan water supply, and we can't give you a will serve letter. So if I don't know, they don't know, and it's a thing. So the next one will be in April. I've asked them to reach out directly again. Who knows where that email went to or to whom, right? So I just want to make sure that you're all represented. I know you have really big plans and a lot of things in the future, and I just want to make sure you're at least on the radar to what we have coming up. We have record snowpack going on. We have 37 feet as of last week in Mammoth. As you know, many of the communities are snowed in. That doesn't mean the drought conditions of our illustrious governor are over. That just means we have snowpack, but doesn't necessarily mean we have any place to put it or that he won't send it underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. So be aware when you hear things on the media that when they say drought conditions, that's man-made. When it's drought, it's God-made.
Amen.
Colorado River is moving to litigation rather than negotiation. So you have the lower basin states going to lawyer up because we can't seem to make an agreement on how we manage what little resources are left in Lake Mead. For Southern California, we have 1 million acre feet stored in Lake Mead. That's 1 million football fields. It's enough water for 3 million people for a year. So obviously how this works out is all in our best interest. If we do not get a good allocation from the state with all this snowpack and we are unable to move water out of the Colorado River, it doesn't matter how much rain we got, we will probably have to put restrictions in, and I don't believe in that unless we absolutely have to. I'm just going to ask again just to be as efficient as possible and just don't waste it, because when it runs off, it just feeds algae, and that's a whole nother conversation. We're starting our budget process. We are 2 months in. It takes us about 4 to 6 months to finish that process. We're looking about a $700 million capital improvement program over the next 5 years. We have grants, we have low-interest loans. We're always looking for more money, but we have a lot of big projects planned, including the Canyon Lake Water Treatment Plant and the sewer trunk line for 74, which will actually go right past Greenwald off to Etherneck. So we're very excited about all of that. I'm happy to answer any questions. I hopefully didn't go over my 3 minutes.
No, you didn't. You don't have to worry about that. You're good. Thank you, Director. Any questions for Darcy? Thank you for this
Thank you.
morning. We had a good turnout.
We did have a good
A lot of new
turnout.
faces. Mayor, coffee with the mayor and coffee with our director. It's been good. I appreciate you.
I
So
appreciate you all.
I have a
too.
question.
Thank you. Oh. Yes.
So last night at the POA meeting, because I was watching, there were some comments from you about conditions that will not be very favorable to Canyon Lake.
Correct.
Can you maybe elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So.
Because it was terrifying, what you said.
It is terrifying. So as time has gone on, and not just in California or Canyon Lake or this region, toxic algae is becoming a more prevalent item. Toxic algae is not treated with regular algae treatments. It's just not something that works. So Lake Elsinore, which by the way is completely different than Canyon Lake, one is filled with recycled water, the other is drinking water, so they're night and day water quality characteristics. But algae likes to grow where there's lots of nutrients, i.e. runoff from your yard, right? Where the weather is warmer, the water heats up, and when it's more shallow, but not necessarily. Cyanotoxins, or toxic algae, will shut down a water body until they dissipate. For Lake Elsinore, that was 8 months. So I had suggested that the dredging fund that the POA currently has set aside be renamed or reallocated, maybe lake management, lake support, some type of fund where they could draw on that to implement some of the items that are specifically in the lease. The POA managed the algae in the lake. The water district does not. So I would encourage more frequent testing, not just before different holidays, because that's not how the cycles are working right now. I encouraged maybe weed abatement programs. I had a lot of phone calls last year where people had weeds in the bay or by their docks, and they were concerned about children's safety or other safety and who can take the weeds out. Well, the weeds at the bottom of the lake, which are ours, are actually beneficial. They help water quality, fish habitat. There's a lot of benefits to it. But when it rises to the top, which is the POA's jurisdiction, it becomes an issue. So putting money aside to maybe regularly making sure those weeds are maintained. A healthy ecosystem, a healthy lake benefits all of us. I'm gravely concerned about algae. I know Council Member Welty and I can talk about different strategies. I think we have different philosophies on that. But the reality is, if you're managing it well, you're testing regularly, you're actively participating in the prevention of algae, you have a much better opportunity to avoid things like shutting down the lake for 8 months. And people are like, oh yeah, that'll never happen. But that doesn't mean just no body contact. That means no boats. That means stay away from your dock. And it's enforceable. It's a public health risk. So that was my suggestion. I didn't stay to see where that suggestion went, and I really didn't have any questions last night
Yeah.
about it. So thank you,
Well,
Councilmember Castillo.
So obviously that will impact property values and property taxes.
And public health.
and-
Children
Right.
are at risk.
All that also, but I mean, what can we do? Do
I
we
don't-
need to reach out? Who
I
do we
think
talk
it-
to? Where can we do?
I'm hoping that at the next roundtable, we can have a discussion, which would be next
Thursday,
Thursday
yeah, 8 a.m.
Morning, because it really is an issue. It is spelled out in the lease that is something the POA is responsible for. They asked to take responsibility and control of algae, so that's something in their wheelhouse, so to speak. We partner with them. We use our contracts to have it tested, which saves the POA significant amount of money. We participate in that. We let them know when the results are. They have the responsibility of closing the lake, depending on what the results are. There are signs actually posted at all the beaches that I don't think anybody pays attention to, whether it's, red, yellow, green, or go in or don't go. I just see cyanotoxins being a bigger issue in the world of water, and all the conferences I go to, we're talking about it on the water quality side, what people are doing to treat it, how they're trying to prevent it. When I talk about reducing runoff, it's not just because I want to save water, it's because I want to save the lake. I know 42% of my division is on auto pay. 1% opens the bill of that 42%. So money isn't the reason they aren't paying attention, but water quality, I think, would be an indicator that we can do something. So right now, I don't know what role the city can play, but I think a good conversation, which is the whole purpose the roundtable was started,
Right.
so that we could deal with things before they became an issue. And I realize that their budget's going through and they have the fees and things they need to collect, but that reserve money was intended for, I think, the bigger picture of water quality. Dredging the lake would have improved the water quality. So I don't think by changing that, you change the intent, and that we could really together collaboratively come up with a better monitoring program, if nothing else.
I think, bear with me, Director Burke, just because the experience I had last week at your water conference was very enlightening, because I was able to speak to many other directors who didn't have a relationship with their council like Director Burke has with this council. And I know for us, it's easy because we campaigned on it in 2018 together, on bringing the relationship together. I'm a firm believer that we govern for the people, and we govern for the same people.
Yes.
And it is so helpful that we get to pick up the phone. And I watched the entire meeting last night, and I appreciate your willingness to stand up, and you understand our key issue in Canyon Lake is the lake. That's our baby. That's our pride and joy. And if we don't start taking it seriously, so I applaud my colleague for asking what can we do, and that's our stance. And at least for myself, and I know the people next to me, we've been so supportive of you, and anything that we can do to get the word out, we're trying the best we can with the POA as well, because we're all one. And so I just want to say I appreciate what you said last night, standing up, and you always have the focus of doing what we can for the community, which is the lake. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any-
I appreciate you all very much. It's always nice to be able to have a conversation. You know, we don't always agree.
Nope. And we started that this morning, didn't we?
We did always agree.
Darcy and I don't always agree, but
We always work it out.
absolutely. That's
So-
good governance in my mind. Any other questions?
No,
Thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate you. All right, moving on. Canyon Lake Property Owners Association, President Renee Griffiths, is she here? Any emails, text? Mr. Bill Van Vliet, would you like to say something on behalf of the POA? Or was last night just too damning and you just don't want no part of it? He's like, I wasn't prepared for this.
And it is the truth. So, Mayor Smith, council members, staff, guests, thanks for this opportunity. Yes, this is quite a surprise, but thank you for the opportunity.
We get to see you in
speak
action.
On the behalf, on my feet, for the POA. Last night we had our meeting. It was a little lengthy one, but one of the things that was really great about it is in our Holiday Bay room we had, I don't know how many people, but almost all the chairs were full. It was a full audience, and for those of you who govern, I know you probably believe, as I believe, when you have your constituents there in there to listen, to hear what's going on, to give their voice, to help you govern, it helps us do a better job. And so that was really great for us, and I certainly, we all appreciated it. So our meeting was it was a big one. The March meeting is important for us because I think we had three big items to talk about. The first off, we led off with an update on security, right? And there's three elements to security. There's what the POA can do through community patrol. There's what the city can do with public safety and the sheriff and so forth. And it's what the residents can do together. And really what we need to solve our collective security challenges in our community is to have that public and private partnership. We have to work together. Right, and so that's what we tried to do. We tried to really kind of just let everyone know what's going on. We went over our statistics. We got input from the POA's community patrol. We also got input from Anna on the RSO statistics, and we've been tracking also social media as well, because that's where the people kind of speak directly. And through the combination of the three, we can start to get a better picture of what's happening, and more importantly, kind of how it changes with time. There's seasonality associated with our security challenges, and we went through that. So I think it was a good kind of overview to let people know our whole picture, and while we're not done, it's where we're going overall. The second big item for us was the budget. When you're doing the budget, and it's never easy to go through that. We talked about not only the operating costs, but we also talked about our reserves, and we talked about then the dues, and they all are linked together. And we had a lot of debate on that. With respect to the subject that was brought up about the dredging and the amount was in there, there was a lot of debate on should it be in, should it be out. In the end, we retained it in our reserves. So it's something that's available for us to be addressed in time. How and when we do it is really something that should be subject to, again, a joint discussion of Water District, the POA, and the city. And so I encourage you to take that up in your roundtable discussions. And then the third thing that was important was we went through all of our clubs. And in Canyon Lake, kind of what really drives and helps Canyon Lake go are our committees and our clubs. And we have many, many clubs. And so we went through the sanctioning process for the next 3 years. Who's sanctioned as a club to be in there and what they can do. And so that was kind of the bulk of what we had. So let me give you an update on upcoming events, since I wasn't prepared. But March 13th, Monday, our pool opens for the season, and it'll be open to residents. April 1st is the Junior Women's Club Golf Tournament. Always a good time. Whether you're a golfer or a member, it's a great event to be there and encourage it. And also on April 1st, we have our first, our second, I should say, concert at the Holiday Bay Room for the Canyon Lake Guild. And all great events. I guess in parting, I want to say one thing. Not only I echo everything says about Anna, with you going to Yucaipa, we as a community are losing a great resource. Guess what I didn't realize is I personally am losing a fellow cheesehead, and wish you all the best.
Any questions? I just want to say thank you. There was a lot of work that was done last night. For those of you that are watching online and listening, those of you that are here in the audience tonight, public safety has been our number one priority, and Bill took that very personally last night. He created an entire presentation on that. He utilized our resources and it helped facilitate some of those statistics with our sheriff's department. I just want to say thank you. Tonight we are literally having a conversation on starting, a public safety committee, because we believe that we need to handle the issues that the community is presenting to us. I'm a firm believer that Canyon Lakers are both POA and city. In my mind, there should not be no difference. We should work together on everything we do. So thank you for your willingness to put that presentation together. And this council is taking it seriously, which is why you see it on the agenda tonight.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And again, it's a partnership, and
Yep.
we need to work together.
Love
So
that.
Thanks.
Good. Thank you. All right, Mr. Grande, our Chamber of Commerce president. I saw you suited and booted, ready to go. You're prepared. That's how I roll. Yep. Slinging solar.
That's right. That's right. We keep everything on my cell phone so I don't forget, because I won't get into the details of what CRS is, but I suffer from it. Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, everybody else. A few things, and I'll be brief. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to sit down with Councilmember Terry, City Manager Daley. It's great to get to know you a little bit, as well as Corey Gorham. We all seem to be on the same page. We want to support small businesses in this community. Nothing to be announced yet, but it seems like we're making some strides and getting some good directions there. Earlier this month, or was it the end of last month, we hosted Business Bingo at Pisa. I was beyond thrilled that we, standing room only, sold out the event. So it was a very exciting evening. Everybody had a lot of fun. The chamber, our focus is on businesses. So when residents and citizens show up for something, it makes it even a lot more fun. Our membership meeting is coming up on April 22nd, and that'll be held in the evening at 6 p.m. at the Magnolia Room over at the Country Club. We have solidified the date, and we're nailing down permits for our pub crawl, which is going to begin here in the town center on April 29th. So everybody mark your calendars. It's going to be a lot of fun. At least I hope it's going to be. And we're really counting on that to be one of our big annual events. And the other thing that we'd like to announce, we're changing how we select Business of the Month. We announced it just within the last few days. We are now taking nominations from the community. And then, of course, those nominations will be vetted and voted on by the board. But just another way to include the community and get everybody excited about that process. And speaking of building Business of the Month, our next Business of the Month will be Elementary Smiles, Dr. Cheryl Johnston here in the Town Center. So we're very thrilled. She provides a great service to the community. Everyone seems to love and go there and get their teeth taken care of. So I think that was everything that I wanted to bring up. Any
Awesome.
questions?
Any questions? Thank you so much.
All right.
We
You're welcome.
appreciate
Have a
you.
good night, everyone.
Thank you. All right, the big item, public safety update. Lieutenant Bill Edwards, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. I have the February stats for you. We can go over those real quick. It's during the month of February, Canyon Lake deputies responded to 296 calls for service, decreased by 37 calls from the month of January. There were 4 Part 1 crimes, which is quite reduced in the city of Canyon Lake. So for February, there was 3 thefts, 1 motor vehicle theft. For the thefts, we're down 5. Motor vehicle thefts, we were down 6. Also, during the month of February, Canyon Lake deputies wrote 4 traffic citations, investigated 2 traffic collisions. There were 3 arrests made in the city of Canyon Lake, 1 for DUI, 1 for possession, and 1 for being under the influence of a controlled substance. You can also see the stats below: 4 traffic and parking sites, 1 DUI, 2 TCs, total arrests were 3. Our response times actually came down back in line with December, so you're looking at 10.87 minutes for priority 1 and 23:43 for priority 2 calls. And that's about it.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, absolutely.
Recently, we kind of made public that the online reporting system is up for Canyon Lake. A lot of people had no idea that you could actually report online.
Okay.
Do you have any idea if our residents are using it? or do we need to do more outreach and more information on that?
Probably some more outreach. I don't have the stats if they've called in that way or not.
Okay.
We can look into it, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a good extra resource, right?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as they're reporting stuff so that we can keep up on the stats, we can track the crime trends, and then we can actually saturate the areas. If there's like one area that's being hit with like vehicle burgs or vehicle thefts, we can narrow down the times based on reporting, and we can be a little bit more proactive with that.
Awesome.
So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you. And good luck, Anna, on your new assignment.
Thank you, Lieutenant. All right, next up, code enforcement. Ruby, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and staff. So for the month of February, we issued 2 notice violations for unpermitted construction. 1 MPDS violation for lack of BMPs. 2 notices of violations for administrative nuisances. And down to our BLM, we issued 2 citations and 15 verbal warnings. We have no short-term rentals for the month of February, but we do continue to monitor those that come up. And we're not just monitoring them through the short-term vacation rentals or B&B VRBO. We're also seeing some of them pop up under Redfin, Zillow.
Interesting.
Realty.com or Realtor.com. So,
Right.
so we're now monitoring those websites and trying to track those that do come up. And then down to our residential rental, we have 315 rentals that have registered, 278 have renewed. We still have 37 pending. 4 inspections were conducted for the month of February, and we're still pending 37 inspections. And that is all I have.
Any questions? Good?
right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Last but not least, Chief, you are up.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, city staff, guest, Jeff Lieutenant, your fire chief. I'm here to provide you with our February statistics. So for the month of February, we had 85 calls. It's kind of related to the decrease that we see with only 28 days in the month, but we seem to be on track so far in comparison to last year. Of those 85 calls, 3 of them were fire calls. 68 were medical aids. We had 4 service calls, 9 good intent calls, 1 false call for the total of 85. Our fire responses, the 3 of them, was first one on February 7th in Paris in the 25,000 block of Sadie. We had a fully involved structure with exposures that our personnel responded on. We were the second engine on scene for that incident, and our personnel were on scene for about 3 hours assisting in the fire operations of that incident. During that time, Riverside County CAL FIRE covered Station 94 and Station 5, so we ensured we had coverage in the city or around the city while our unit was outside the city. The next incident was on February 9th in Canyon Lake in the 22,500 block of Bass Place. It was a cooking fire. It did over $2,000 in damage. And as you look at the picture there, that's the cooking fire. It had potential really to get out of control very quickly. It was actually extinguished before our firefighters got on scene with the fire extinguisher. So again, a good reason to keep home fire safety equipment available.
Cookies, oatmeal.
I actually don't know what they were cooking. One of the persons here.
Was it tacos?
Tacos.
That sounds good.
And then our last fire was on February 20th in Canyon Lake. It was the 30,400 block of Bear River. It was a mattress fire. About $5,000 in damage on that fire. So typically, it hasn't really changed. We see this trending very well after a year of statistics. But the early morning hours and until about 11 o'clock in the morning, our call volumes decreased. And then in the afternoon, we see it increase. So as we always say, we try to plan our activities more in the morning. That will put us in a delayed response, anticipating calls later on in the day. So our response time, we did some improvement in this. We went from, on the turnout time, on an average, from 108 to 104. Our travel time, we went from 5:39 to 4:55. So our overall response time decreased from 6:34 to 5:59. So some good improvement in our
Nice.
numbers for that month.
Good job, guys.
And again, we track this daily or weekly, and the captains are given weekly reports from Battalion Chief Samuels on how they're performing. So we keep track of it very closely. What we really like to look at is our 90% fractile time. And so for our fractile time, there was a little bit of an increase from 138 to 158. But this is what we do 90% of the time. So 90% of the time, we're out the station within 1 minute 58 seconds. Our department goal is 145. For our travel time, it went from 8:29 to 6:55, so a big decrease in that. Our goal is 6 minutes there. And so our overall response time was 8:07, and our goal is 7:45. So we want to keep trending down, and that's the direction we're going, so we'll continue to monitor that. This is a map of where our incidents occurred for the month of February, fairly remote throughout the entire city. So we were going everywhere within the city. There was no, as the sheriff liked to say, hot spots in one area where we were going to the same location multiple times. Our automatic and mutual aid given, so during the month of February, our units responded to 12 incidents outside the city. We had 9 in the Lake Elsinore area code, 2 in Menifee, 1 in Paris, and none in Good Hope that month. So far this year, we've responded 30 times outside the city, 22 in Lake Elsinore, 5 in Menifee, 1 in Paris, and 2 in Good Hope. And this is the map year-to-date of where our responses outside the city have been. So it kind of gives us an idea of where we're going and kind of our travel time as we get there. Riverside County conversely responded 8 times into the city during the month of February. So far this year, they've responded 14 times into the city. So right now, our numbers are a little bit more where we're going outside the city than they're coming inside the city. And this is a location where they have responded. And you can see a lot of it was along Railroad Canyon Road and Continental area. So that part of the city is where we're getting most of our activity. Training hours, we say train as if your life depends on it, because it does. So the A shift had 20 hours, the B shift had 30 hours, and the C shift had 30 hours. We spent our time this month on elevator training, EMS training, annual fit testing, annual pump testing. We did area familiarization at the Shelter Cove condos. We did reserve firefighter training with self-contained breathing apparatus. And each month, Chief Samuels works with the captains on fire ground simulations. Public education, again, they were out there busy. They went and took all the flags out of the postal place and keep them at the fire station where we properly dispose of them. So you can either drop off your worn and tattered flags at the post office or at our fire station. They went over to Happy Camp and just interacted with some of the guests that were there. They went out and took shovels and repaired the baseball field. They were at the Car Club Coffee and Donuts. There are so many Girl Scout cookies at the house right now. It's just amazing. And along with the rest of the city, they were part of honoring Orange County Sheriff Deputy Brian Haney. So thanks to everybody that participated in that.
Absolutely.
Significant events. We talked about the structure fire outside the city where we had a large time commitment. But on February 27th, we had another interesting call, probably a first for a lot of us, where we had a person who was trapped inside his ceiling. And so it took us about 2 hours to cut through the ceiling. We had to cut through framing members. Unfortunately, the building department, because of the work we had to do to get the larger gentleman out, had to red tag the building because of the damage done to the rafters, and that was the only way we could get in there and get the person out. So it was an interesting call, but our firefighters did an amazing job and were able to mitigate it on their own.
Christmas decorations?
It's a long story. I don't want to go there.
We'll leave it at tacos. I get it.
So that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, moving on. Madam Clerk, public comments.
Any person wishing to address the city council on any matter within the jurisdiction of the city, whether or not it appears on this agenda, is asked to complete a speaker request form available on the back counter. The completed form is to be submitted to the city clerk prior to an individual being heard by the city council. The city council has adopted a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you're commenting on the agenda item, your comments will be heard at the time that particular item is scheduled on the agenda. Please note that if you're addressing the city council on items not on the agenda, the Brown Act does not allow discussion of such items. Therefore, the city council may only do the following: refer the matter to staff, ask for additional information, or request a report back, or give a very limited factual response. Members of the public may still submit their comments electronically by sending an email with their comment to publiccomment@canyonlakeca.gov. Comments submitted electronically will be provided to the city council and included in the official record, but will not be read aloud during the meeting. We will start off tonight with Art Femister.
Welcome, Art. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the City Council and Mayor Smith and Anna. Where were you all this time? I could have used your help so many times to get me out of trouble on that when I had to speak on that. So congratulations on your new position and everything, and we're definitely going to miss you on that. So the reason I'm here tonight is not to replace any law enforcement actions on that. Riverside Sheriff's actually doing a great job handling this, but there's probably going to need involvement by a government type of agency. That may be the POA or maybe the council. So I went to the POA and stated everything I'm going to state now. Dale, you can go ahead and take a break if you want. You already heard this on there. So the rest of you, I just want to make sure everybody's aware of this because it could potentially be a serious situation. This is David. I'm not going to say David's last name. This is David and his homeless friend walking through Canyon Lake on Sunday, going through there and trotting along and everything. David was an older gentleman there with a cane and the walking stick. David was followed by someone called it in and said, doesn't look like he belongs here, whatever. They determined that. Community Patrol was escorting him out of here. Oops, sorry, I forgot to hit my start button. Started escorting them out of here. And then when he got to Cove View, he split off and went and for some reason hid behind a boat. And there was a 9-year-old girl there. And the little girl came out and he jumped out, scared her, she screamed. The parents came out and you'd say, well, he maybe just playing with the girl. Well, this is also David's photo. He's a registered sex offender for a 288A, which means lewd and lascivious conduct on someone under 14 years old. That ups it up from there. When we got someone out there who everybody keeps, I don't know where they get this dementia call from. Everybody keeps saying, who's got dementia? Well, where do we know that from? Because he seems to be faltering things. So that was on Sunday. This was on yesterday. This is David being picked up again by the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. I got a call from one of the ladies that saw him originally, and I had kind of posted that on Facebook to make very aware of it. So for some reason they called me. I went over there, saw him, followed him over there. He tried taking off through Sierra Park towards the back part there, and I just kind of gently suggested he come up to the park, to the street, and wait for the sheriff up there. And then suddenly his dementia went away. He says, I don't want to see the sheriff on that. I said, well, let's go talk to him, Dave. This would be a good opportunity to give you a ride home. So he complied and just kind of followed him up there. Sheriff came, took him away again. Today, same thing on that. They came by. Now, when the sheriff came yesterday, Deputy Innes on that, he brought the mental health person with them that they travel with. They have one person assigned. She does a great job also. So they said suggestions about contacting Adult Protective Services, and this is where I said, we need to pass this on to you people, because that's not my job. I'm happy to share it, but I don't know. He's not my taker. He's not trespassing on my property. So then today he popped up again and got picked up on Canyon Lake Drive South about 4 hours ago by Deputy Bailey, our deputy, as we like to call him on that, great guy inside there. And he was talking about, he worked with Deputy Innes to try and contact another one. I had contacted Menifee PD 2 days ago just to confirm he's a sex offender. I don't want to make that statement unless it's for sure, so yes, he is. He has no restrictions on him. We're hoping that say you can't be near kids, we can get him. Nope, you can't on that. So all I wanted to do was pass along somebody, and I gave to Nicole on that a copy of his sex offender thing from Megan's Law on that. Somebody at some point, if the sheriff's department isn't able to, and it's not, they've done everything they can. They've done a great job, but if they can't do anything about it, then someone's going to need to step up, the city or the POA, and file an order of trespass to have them arrested.
Thanks, Art.
So,
Appreciate
that's all
it.
I want to pass on that, so.
Thank you so much.
I love that tone on that, so, yeah, it's kind of, maybe it's good, no, never mind, just tease about that.
It's fierce. Thank you. Do we have any other public comments?
We do. We have 2 cards for Mr. John Zeitz. One of them is going to be for item number 7, so we'll hear that at that time. Mr. Zeitz, the other card is the box for closed session is checked off. Was it for a non-agenda related item?
For this, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And 7 is 11, okay?
11,
Oh,
okay.
like the store, 7-Eleven?
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so 11, okay, you may begin.
Okay. It's a question for you that I hope the city attorney will answer. In December, you had a meeting in which you set the fees for the community. That was done in a public session, a public hearing, as I recall. And today, we have on the agenda something that you passed on back in December, and that's the EMS fees that were part of that public hearing for the fees. On the agenda, it says, item 11 is a discussion of the fees. Now, my interpretation of the code is that discussion means you can discuss it, but you cannot come to a resolution on that issue. And if your agenda item says discussion, you cannot vote on it, which is the whole purpose of what you have it on the agenda for today. So I would just, as a point of order, ask Mr. City Attorney whether I'm correct or not on that.
You want it?
Absolutely. So, Mr. Zeitz is correct. The city council did decide to pull the EMS fees from the consideration at the December public hearing where you adopted all the other fees, primarily because you thought there might be changes to the cost structure for the fire department. Under our EMS subscription program ordinance, this fee is actually going to be set in June. So this is simply a discussion for the city council to talk about what the proposed fees are. The fee will be set at a public hearing, which will be occurring in June. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for the clarification on that. Do we have any other public comments?
No other cards.
Okay, no other cards. Moving on to the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, please read the consent calendar statement.
All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine matters, status reports, or documents covering previous city council action. The items listed on the consent calendar may be enacted in one motion. With the concurrence of the city council, a council member may request that an item be removed for further discussion. Staff recommends approval of all items.
Does anyone want to pull an item? Going once, going twice. I do need a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve consent.
Need a second, please?
Second.
Awesome. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Castillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Welty? Terry?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Welty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Perfect. All right, no pulled consent items, so we're moving on. It's your last meeting, so I got to mix it up. I'm going to make a request that we push business item number 11 at the top of the docket, if
Okay.
that's okay?
Yep.
Cool. Let's dive into it then. If there's any objection, is that good?
Nope. Let's
Cool.
do it.
All right, moving on. Here we go. Business item. This is going to be, we're going to take number 11 up first, which is discussion on the proposed fees for emergency medical service subscription program for the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year. Madam Clerk, that's yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm actually going to defer to the city manager.
I will change
for
my
the-
script.
For the presentation.
Mrs. City Manager, it is yours.
Thank you very much. And I'll go ahead and jump right in. The recommendation in your staff report is to approve the proposed fee schedule for the EMS subscription program for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. Based on the comment made, I think really the intent here is to discuss and give us direction. As mentioned, there will be a public notice that will go out by March 15th with the fees, and that's what we're looking for clarification for on the staff side. We do not, at this time, are not actually approving any fees. So just some history on this program. The program was officially established in November of 2019 by the adoption of a resolution of an ordinance by the City Council. Then in March 2020, staff did conduct an internal fee analysis to determine the cost and associated fees for the program. This was followed by a decision in June of 2020 to officially adopt a resolution establishing the fees for the program, and then in July of 2020, the program began. In January of 2022, the city established its own fire department, so this was a key change in terms of providing services to the community. And then, as mentioned, in December of last year, a user fee study was presented to the City Council that included the EMS program fees, and at that time, the council did ask to pull these fees for future discussion based on some other decisions that were on the table in regards to fire services and the fire station, etc. The fees themselves, we have two different fees in this program. The first one is the subscription fee. The second is the response fee. The subscription fee basically ensures that residents do not have to pay any additional costs for emergency services when they are requested. If you are not paying the subscriber fee, then at the time of a response, you would pay a response fee, which is billed per call for the full cost of the emergency services within the city. So again, just as clarification, subscription fee, you're exempt from the response fee. Response fee is if you are not a subscriber, you will pay full cost for that individual service provided to your residents, to your guests, anyone visiting your property. The EMS subscription program is voluntary. It is an opt-out program, and people are able to choose whether or not to participate. According to the municipal code, the city has the ability to establish the fees by a resolution, and this can be done periodically whenever the city council feels that it's necessary to look at those fees. And since 2020, the subscription fee and the response fee have remained the same for the citizens of Canyon Lake. This slide shows us some of the revenues that have been generated from this program to help offset the costs of EMS services within the city of Canyon Lake. As you can see, they've gone up slightly, but overall they've stayed pretty stable. And this is as a result that we don't see too many opt-outs. We have about a 90% participation rate within the city, and that number tends to stay pretty level year after year. What was proposed back in December from the user fee study, you can see on the screen. The response fee was suggested to decline from $14.83 per call to $13.56 per call, which is a decrease of $127. The subscription fee was proposed to increase to $247 per year from its current rate of $192 per year. That is an increase of $55 per year, or as I was told, Canyon Lake likes monthly amounts, so $4.58 per month. This might be a little difficult to read, so I'll do my best to go over the breakdown here. But this is showing how the Wildan, which is a professional consultant that the city hired to look at all of our fees in the city. So there's user fee law, and most cities will do user fee studies to establish fees. It's set methodology that ensures that cities are able to identify the cost for certain services and determine a fair and equitable rate based on the reasonable costs associated with a service in a city. What was done for this fee is typical for most EMS programs in other places. They looked at our overall budget. This is for fiscal year 22-23. So again, not looking into the future, but looking at our current costs for services, which is about $1.7 million. In addition, for the city of Canyon Lake, we have an indirect overhead support cost. Now, this is something that is also very typical in city government. This is covering costs associated with other staff in the organization. So if you were to look at a budget, the fire and medical budget is specific to the fire department. But if we were to think of the electricity that we're running in this building, the staff, the office space, the insurance that we have, printing, mailing, postage, all of those things that come into the operations of the organization, the user fee study determined that there's a 35% indirect overhead cost that goes into fees within the city. So you can see that cost associated with EMS here, as determined by the user fee study. They then deduct the $1.2 million that we receive in fire structure fees through the property tax roll. And then also any revenues that are generated by other services that the fire department provides, such as permits, inspections, and that's to ensure, again, we're taking out those service costs associated, because those costs or those fees are determined as well by the user fee study. The remaining department cost is shown here at $1.1 million approximately. And for both sides, and my understanding with Wildan is they have to, again, make sure that it's an equitable cost across each platform in terms of how they determine this fee. So in the subscription fee, they divided the number of parcels that this would be applied to, right? The 1.1 million divided by 4,746 came to a total cost per parcel of $247. Again, this is assuming 100% participation, and they're not allowing for any subsidization by other parcels. Each parcel, if we just looked at the cost to have services, it would be $247, again, based on this $1.7 million budget. The EMS response fee, calculated very similarly. The difference here is just going to be the number of calls. So what they did in the user fee study, and will typically do for certain services like this, is they'll look at a 3-year average of how many of those services were used in a community to determine a number to use for the cost analysis. So 1.1 million divided by an average of 865 calls for emergency medical services in the city of Canyon Lake comes to $1,356. So some may say, why did this fee drop and the other increased, right? So the costs have gone up and the number of parcels stay the same, so the price of the fee goes up, right? And we did change services to a fire department, which did save us money. But again, that doesn't mean that there's not other increases across the organization going into that overhead cost. In contrast, the response fee, what we've seen from the original calculation done by the internal staff back in 2020 when it was first established, is we used a lower average of response calls. So obviously, if you have more calls for service, then the cost per call goes down. So that cost for services is a little bit higher, and we are trending at that average. So if you saw in our fire report today, there were 68 calls and 64 calls. That's an average of 66 a month. And so we'd expect to be close to that 800 number. And as we all know, the summer we see a spike usually in those EMS calls. So we trend about 865 calls per year. One important thing to note as well, when the internal analysis was done at the original establishment of this fee, we didn't have any data, right? We didn't have our own fire department. We didn't have track all of this stuff as closely as we are now. And again, the costs for services also were never analyzed to the fullest extent. So that is also another reason that we're seeing a change here in the EMS fee. We now have several years of data that we can use in determining this cost. The attorney and any other staff that might be able to assist. Thank you
so much, City Manager. Appreciate that. Before we dive into questions from the council, are there any public comments?
Yes, we have John Zeitz.
Mr. Zeitz, the floor is yours, 3 minutes.
It never ceases to amaze me that politicians tell the people one thing and then do the opposite. Ordinance 187 says the ordinance was enacted to recover certain costs for emergency medical services. Certain is defined as specific but not named. Well, that was a lie, because the amount of cost that was used, $2,248,000, was not the cost of emergency medical services, but the cost of the entire fire department's contract. When you establish your own fire department, you reduce the cost. That is shown in slide there at when you had previously $1,764,000. But when you take away the county, it gives you the community's property taxes of $1,210,000. That leaves $554,000 unfunded by the EMS fees that were to bring in $796. That's $241 more than the cost of your service. So is that something to brag about? No, it's illegal. Government code and the state's constitution says that the amount of a fee or a charge imposed upon a parcel shall not exceed the proportional cost of the service attributed to the parcel. In December, the issue of the fees was studied and recommendations were made. You saw that tonight. Now it's the first time you can see that there was an arbitrary and capricious addition to the costs, indirect overhead at 35%. Does anyone on this council, any one of you know what the indirect cost is and why it should be at 35%? If asked, I don't think I could get an answer from any one of you. But it does not make a difference because it is the excuse to charge the community $422,000 more than the cost of the entire fire department. This is also against the Constitution. The fee shall not exceed an amount necessary to cover the reasonable cost of service provided by the city. None of this information, as you've seen, is available in the December meeting. I want to thank the city for getting a new city manager who believes that transparency is a verb, not a noun. Thank you for showing us the basis that I believe is fraudulent. So that all said, the city did was wrong. No, the city charged 50% of the community, the $192 fee, when they were getting service from Lake Elsinore and Menifee. That is against the Constitution. No fee charge can be made for service unless the service is actually used by the immediate available owner, and you did that for 2 years. Both the city manager and city attorney knew that, and they charged it anyway. Thank God for a new city manager. And you really believe when you said the cost of medical service that you're going to recover $2,383,000.
Thank you, Mr. Zeitz. Appreciate your comments. And thank you for joining us for a group photo with Anna. It meant a lot to us. We appreciate it. Any comments from the council? We want to start the ball rolling on this conversation? You want me to kick us off? Okay. So, EMS, we had this discussion. I'm happy it's being brought to us in this format. It was brought to us in December. As discussed, we pushed it on because we've already done some things since then, right? We've made the decision to purchase the fire station. But when I look at what's being proposed by staff, which is a $4 increase, I believe, total, is that correct? 16 to 22 or?
$4.58. $4.58 a month.
So we're at 16 right now, is that correct? And we're going to go to $20? Okay. And 58, cents. So here's the issue that I have. Terry gave us a great presentation on where we're at financially, and I'm so thankful to be part of this council, that we're running a surplus stronger than we were when we gave our state of the city to the community. And we have a lot of things that are coming up, but the status quo today is a surplus of nearly $500,000 with different revenue streams coming in. For me, this is simple to keep the status quo, to keep the fee that we have in place as of today. I know costs are on the rise. I know that inflation's upon us. I know eggs are $9. I get it. We just heard all this last night from the POA. And I think we have a chance here to do something for the community. We've done a good job balancing our books. And I think, at least for me, I'm pretty strong on keeping it the status quo, not raising the fee, continuing as is with the $16. I would be in favor of obviously reducing the one-time fee, because I think that just makes sense through the study that we've seen. But open it up for conversation.
I agree with you. I think that we're doing a great job as far as our finances, and I think we're very strong. We have good reserves, and I think when we're in this place that we don't take the opportunity to raise fees just because we can. That's not our goal in any shape here. So I think giving the lower fee on the individual rate and the lower fee on the part that's included in the taxes should be maintained on the tax side and lowered on the individual fee side. So as you work for the city or you're in the city, you realize it's much like a regular homeowner's budget. We have unexpected expenses. We have surprise expenses that go down. We have surprise upsides on our revenue. We have surprise downsides on our revenue. So in all cases, like all the rest of us, we have to have reserve, and we keep reserve. And I'm very happy that we're on track with our current level of reserves. So at this point, because of all that, I believe that Jeremy's right. Things may change where we're making an effort to purchase the fire station. That will probably change the budget for somewhat next year. We may have to relook at this, but at least for today, I concur with your points.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to hearing also what the community has to say, but on, if we do ultimately keep it the same, is it an annual relook at it? So if we find that we're very upside down with that, can we make an adjustment again next year?
Yes, it's not required to look at it every year. We can look at it periodically according to the ordinance, but we are required to notify the residents of the fee amount every year. So yes, we could bring this back next March, and that would give us adequate time to do the notice before the June adoption.
That's where I was at too with it, Councilwoman Dane, in my mind. The reason why I feel strong about keeping the status quo is just because I think we should revisit next year. I love the fact that this council's made the decision to be extremely transparent with all that we're doing, especially when we're dealing with fees. And I've had so much discussion with community members on this, and several of us, I know for me, I was an example of opting out and showing how simple it was, and then my wife made me opt back in the next year, and with all of our properties, and it's a simple program, and we've seen the participation grow from year 1 to year 2, but I like the fact that we're having this conversation, and we're not just doing something and hiding it and putting it away and then addressing it again maybe in 2 or 3 years. So for me, if we decide to move forward with the status quo on the current fee and adopting the new fee for the one-time service call, I would want to also readdress this again next year because we have concerns and issues as things come up.
I want some comments.
Yes, please.
First, I would like to see data that shows what amount of subscribers are using the response and what amount of people who have opted out, because I think if we can show predominantly that our subscribers are saving money, I think that that's important information for the community to see. The other comment I have is probably unpopular. I'm going to say it anyways. I don't like to have to consider our public safety budget based on the cosmetic things that the POA is doing. We are literally kind of talking about money based on budgets that the homeowners association is doing. And every time they raise dues, we have to kind of think, well, now it's not great if we raise public safety costs or taxes or fees because the other entity just raised dues for things that are important, but maybe not as important as, life or death. So I do think that maybe when we do an adjustment or when we look at this, I would like to maybe do it ahead of the POA and see, maybe they could adjust behind us. Do you know what I mean? Because at some point, we watched the budget meeting last night and we see dues go up. And now I'm considering that in my decision here for fire costs. And I don't think that's right. I have 2 sets of elderly parents that live in Canyon Lake. Amenities are amazing and they, keep our property values where they are so that we can do phenomenal things. But I don't want to necessarily be considering how I vote and how I'm representing those with fixed incomes or those who potentially need to choose what's more important to them. And when the residents come to me and say, well, public safety is more important, we've had all these presentations on security and safety, but now I'm having to consider what's going on with the POA. And again, the opinion probably sounds a little harsh, but I almost feel like we're doing this backwards. And I'd like to see our meeting ahead of their next budget cycle.
I applaud you for bringing that up. I'm glad you said it, just because for me, I know I've had a few calls and interactions on, well, what are you going to do now that the POA's done this? And it comes back to my original thought process that we're the same dang people. Canyon Lakers are both POA paying members and tax paying citizens. And when we're making financial decisions for us to live in this community, I think we should be making them together. At least a heads up, or at least, hey, you know, let's time it accordingly. Let's do this thing as one, including not just public safety, but finances as well. So I think it's a valid point.
I mean, because right now we're talking about a difference of $458 a month, but now that's on the back of a $15 dues increase.
Literally
So
24
it's
hours.
not $458, it's $20.
Right.
Right? And if we were just talking about the $458, that would be more palatable, I think, for the majority of the community. But $20
Yep.
is rough.
It's a very valid point. Mr. Terry, you have anything?
You know, I agree with
It's okay. I don't know how to use it either. There you go.
I agree with all the comments made here tonight. I know that I've had discussions, and when asked what our duty is as a council member, it is to do the most with our money. It is our responsibility to go out and create revenue. I like the fact that this council agrees with that, and that we're not just looking at every opportunity to increase the fee. I would agree with the mayor that we would go with the lower EMS response fee, which I believe we have to. And I would also be agreed upon, I would agree with keeping our subscription fee for now at the same cost.
Any other comments or discussion before I create a unique motion?
Yes. Are we able to get the data that as Councilwoman Castillo spoke about, how many people, subscribers, utilize the service, so we can kind of see if there is a savings? Are we able to see that?
Yeah, I think we
Before the
can,
meeting?
I think we can find ways to do that, at least extrapolate kind of what you're looking for. And we could share that with all of you, and then also include that in our presentation in June, when we bring the fee back for official adoption at the public hearing, and have that available for the community as well.
Mr. Mayor?
Can we,
No.
Please.
No. Please.
I have the
you've
answer
al-
to her question.
No, I'm sorry that you've already filled out a comment card. No.
It's not a comment. She asked. if she
Mr.
could get
Zeitz,
the
please have
documents.
respect for the format. Please, Mr. Zeitz.
It is from Anna.
Mr.
It
Zeitz,
shows that there's
please.
4,500 people, and you're going to having, this is last year, you have 4,150
Mr. Zeitz,
people
please.
that did. So that answers your question.
Mr. Zeitz.
4,100 are good.
it doesn't answer my question, because I want to know about the people who crash on Railroad Canyon, who don't live in Canyon Lake as well. Those people would be paying for the one-time response fee, right? Or the people who are visiting our town center are paying for the one-time response fee. Or the people who are visiting a business who are not a
Right.
subscriber are paying for the one-time response fees. I want all of it.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
think we can do a full look at how many businesses are participating, how many people paid the full response fee, how many were subscribing, and where the revenue's coming in, and how much was truly collected. I think all of that could really help us understand the program. I'll also mention that we did talk to Wildan. There is a way for us to look at the overhead costs through what they call a cost allocation plan. This is an option that we could look at next year as well, to see if there's a way to kind of figure that out more closely.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, so in regards to the response fee, we did have our executive assistant from the fire department pull a report for 2022. In 2022, we had inside the city calls, we had 15, and outside the city, we had 29. So I don't know if that's helpful, but, no, okay.
I want to know who's a subscriber.
Okay.
Who's not.
Okay.
If, by and large, our community is saving money by being subscribers, because.
Okay,
Pro-
okay.
Proof of concept, essentially, is
Okay.
what we're looking for. And I think that's a valid question and a good criteria at which we should be looking at. It's a good lens, in my opinion. Any other discussion? Any other comments? I'm gonna make a motion. Bear with me as I come up with this out of my head. I'm gonna make the motion that we move forward with the status quo on the fee, but we adopt the new one-time use, the reduction of that fee. I'm also, go ahead. Mr. City
I was just
Attorney.
going to say, Mayor, the purpose of the item is for the council to give us direction on what to set for the public hearing in June.
Perfect.
So we couldn't adopt the fees tonight.
No, of course not. So my recommendation that we're moving forward, that I'll need a motion in a second on, is that we keep the $16 a month fee, and then we move forward with, good luck, guys. And then we look at we move forward with the reduction that has been proposed, which I believe is, how much is it total?
$1,356 per call.
Okay. And then with a side note that we try to obtain the information, obviously, that Councilwoman Castillo is asking, because I think that's important, especially when we go to the public hearing, because we're going to make this for the announcement, which is going to be in March 15th, right? This goes out mail?
By
Right.
March 15th, correct?
Okay, so I would say by the time we have our public hearing on this, then we try to have that information.
Yes.
That way it helps us with that decision, and hopefully we can allow that opportunity for public input as well. So for the public hearing notice that's going to go out this month, the status quo is the $16 a month with the reduced one-time fee. That, I think that's what I'm recommending. So I need a motion in a second for that, for the public hearing notice. Does that make sense?
I'll make a motion. Just one comment, Nicole. Next month when can you have the numbers on the last screen? Because we're talking about numbers, we're all digging deep. And if that is on the screen during the discussion, I think it would help us, but I would like to make the motion.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. I need a second. Right? Yes.
Mayor, do you want me to address the comments coming from the gallery, or do you want to just continue doing business?
Sure. As long as there's no language, considering my 3- and 5-year-old watch this meeting.
Of course, Mayor. So the way I understand the comments that are coming from a member of the public is that because staff included the word discussion right next to the words determine the proposed fees for the EMS subscription program, somehow the city council is incapable of taking action that you're doing tonight, which is to
Right.
tell staff what numbers to put on public notice. There are 3 other items that have discussion placed before them, and then right after it says the action that you're planning on taking following the discussion. The Brown Act requires a brief description of what's going to happen. Here it says discussion, and it says determine the proposed fees for the EMS subscription program for 23-24. I believe you have provided adequate notice. I don't believe you're violating the Brown Act. I do believe the member of the public is violating the Brown Act by continuing to disrupt this public meeting. If the mayor wanted to give him a warning and then have him escorted out if he continues, you could do that.
Duly noted. Moving on, I do have a motion on the table. I do need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Are we good, City Attorney? Okay. I need a roll call vote.
Councilmember Castillo? Aye. Councilmember Dean?
Aye.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Walty?
Aye.
Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, moving on to business item. You want me to come up with a new order and call this 8? Okay, sorry. Let's go to the public hearing. This is the adoption of the interim ordinance number 231, urgency ordinance of the City Council, City of Canyon Lake, extending the provision of the ordinance require the moratorium on the use, condition, establishment, and operation of structures upon water within the City of Canyon Lake. All right, this one's going to go to Stephen. Is that right?
Oh, I was looking for the building official. I'd be happy to handle it if
Mayor?
you'd like.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, if you can open the public hearing
Of
before?
course. Let's do it. We are at 8:04.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor. So last year, the city council adopted a 45-day moratorium on structures on the water. There was some concern about the size and safety of some proposed structures that people were planning on putting on the lake. Thereafter, the city council directed the city manager and staff to investigate and come back with a regulatory ordinance in collaboration with the POA and EVMWD, who also regulate structures on the lake. Obviously, that wasn't able to be done in 45 days, so the city council extended it by 10 months, 15 days. A draft ordinance was prepared, was circulated for comment. Boy, did we receive some comment on that draft ordinance. And so we're going to take an opportunity. I believe the city manager is already planning on, if she hasn't already, begun collaboration with Elsinore Valley as well as the POA, and frankly, as well as the community. because as the city manager likes to say, we always need to think about how our actions are going to impact the community as well as the other regional stakeholders. I really appreciate that point of view. So that's the process going forward. This is an extension for 1 year. You don't have to extend it for a full year. I think the intention is to get those stakeholder input, come back with maybe a simplified ordinance that addresses the core concerns of the city for you to consider at a future date. We are quite lucky that our new city manager has a significant amount of experience on dock ordinances in another jurisdiction nearby.
Questions to staff by council? All right, testimony by proponents. Testimony by opponents. Response by proponents. Announce the time, and here we go. 8:06. Is that my record? Okay. Just want to make sure. A 2-minute public hearing. That's great. All right, discussion by city council. Come on, this is a good one.
I would just like to thank Council Member Terry and Council Member Welty for being on this committee.
Thank you for your volunteer.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Your wives are pissed. I know.
I have a question.
Yes.
Shocker. If it doesn't have to be extended for a whole year, how long do we think it would take to have the information needed to make a determination?
I think at this time, I would hate to make a promise jumping into this. To me, the most important thing is going to be making sure that it's a fair ordinance that aligns with the needs of the community. So at this time, from what I understand, some docks are still going through the POA's process because we don't currently have a regulatory process in place. So, I would hope that in the next 1 to 3 months at the most, we'd have our initial committee meeting and start to look at the actual ordinance. And once I can dig in a little bit more, I'd be able to give better updates. And I'd be happy to do so at a future council meeting to keep the community informed.
My recommendation, just because I know that now you're going to be dealing with 3 different entities, time is needed, in my opinion, just because you're dealing with the water agency schedule and the POA schedule and your schedule and Mark Terry and Dale Welty. So I would be okay if the council is on leaving it at a year. That way it gives us plenty of time, 10 months, I think you said, Mr. City Attorney?
So the last extension was 10 months, 15 days. This one is a year from the expiration.
Okay.
So it's going to go into 2024. But like the city manager said, I don't think we're planning on taking
Right.
quite that long. And then I just want to point out that although there is a moratorium, there's actually a very big exception to the moratorium, and that is docks where everything on the dock, the surface, the guardrails don't exceed 6 feet, the boat lifts don't exceed 8 feet, and the only other structure is a shade canopy for the sole purpose of shade. So, I mean, your standard docks that most people would want to install aren't being regulated by
Right.
this.
That's good. That's good insight. We need action on this. So are we good with leaving it as is?
If we leave it as is for 12 months, and we do have the information before that, then can we just bring it at that
Absolutely.
point? Okay.
Yeah,
So we've
that's,
noted that in the staff report, that if there is an ordinance that's brought to the city council at that moment, it becomes null and void.
That good? Okay, I do need a motion and a second. Motion.
Second.
Cool. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Castillo? Aye. Councilmember Dane?
Aye.
Councilmember Terry? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Welty? Mayor Smith?
Aye.
Motion carried to adopt interim urgency ordinance number 234, an urgency ordinance of the City Council of the City of Canyon Lake, California, extending the provisions of Ordinance 219, requiring a moratorium on the use, construction, establishment, or operation of structures upon water within the City of Canyon Lake.
All right. Thank you so much. Moving along, business item number 9-8 for those of you who are following at home. This is an update regarding the purchase and sale agreement with the Canyon Lake Property Owners Association Fire Station. All right, Mr. City Attorney, where are we at?
Thank you. Mayor, we transmitted the draft purchase and sale agreement over to the POA's attorney about 2 weeks ago. They responded that they were going to be reviewing that and getting back to us. We've not received their comments back. Based on the amount of time, my assumption is that they'll probably have extensive comments. They probably want an opportunity to confer with the POA Board of Directors as well as the General Manager before sending their comments back. So I'm hopeful that we'll get something in the next week or so. Once we do, we'll confer with the city manager. As you know, the city council gave the city manager authority to approve the final form of that agreement and execute it as soon as it's been negotiated. I think obviously if we get something back that's completely unexpected, I'm sure we'll come back to the city council with that. But if we stay on the general track of the purchase and sale agreement that we sent over, my hope is that we'd be able to conclude it. But it's frankly in their hands. We're on their timetable right now.
Understood. Any comments from council in regards to the fire station?
My button's stuck.
I'm telling you, it's these budget cuts, man. You got to hit it. There you go.
There we are, finally. I'm just excited that we can get possession of the station. I'm excited that we can do the upgrades that we hope we can do for the fire personnel, and it's really exciting that we don't have to negotiate a lease every 2 or 3 years, and we don't have to get permission from the owner to really do things right in the community for public safety.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah, we'll wait till we hear back. Onward. So thank you. I appreciate it. This is a receive and file, so this is a chance for you all to talk about it if you had any questions for the city attorney or our new city manager. All right. Moving on, if that's okay. We're now on business item number 10. This is a discussion item for the establish and appoint of a public safety ad hoc committee. City manager?
Yes, thank you. In recent weeks, we've had some conversations. As the new girl in town, I've noticed that there's obviously an interest, as the mayor has mentioned, in addressing some public safety concerns within the city. And in my past experience, ad hoc committees can be a great way to bring 2 council members together with staff and/or other parties that may need to be engaged in making decisions, and such as the POA or such as the sheriff's department or the fire department, and any other potential research or study that we'd like to look into in regards to certain issues. And so at the urging of the mayor, in terms of trying to find some solutions to address public safety concerns in the community, we are proposing a public safety ad hoc committee, and that the city council choose 2 individuals from the council to serve on this ad hoc committee. This is an as-needed committee, so there will not be a set schedule. There are not residents on the committee. It is simply to identify 2 council members that will be our go-to for staff to make sure they are fully informed on things related to public safety, and again, to invite to meetings, and based on their availability can join us and dig in a little deeper on some things that we want in the community.
Any comments? So I brought this one forward just because there's been a lot of conversation over at the POA in regards to public safety, and I'm glad that that's one of our #1 items here at the city. I had the opportunity a couple months ago to attend the ad hoc committee that they've created for security, and I believe Councilwoman Queso Castillo's husband's on that as well, and it was a very informative meeting, and they're having good conversations about what's going on in the community, and it's by residents. There's a couple, there's a board member there, and most of it, 90% is by residents, and it's exciting to see community members stepping forward and sacrificing their evening to have serious conversations. And I think this city, we should be doing the same. And if we can bring forward an ad hoc committee, and the POA can bring forth an ad hoc committee along with that security subcommittee, then I think the 6 of us can hopefully come together and come up with some solutions. What's exciting, what's happening right now, in my opinion, in Canyon Lake, you just heard it from one of our directors, Bill Van Vliet, that security is going to be a #1 topic. And I think we need to start taking it seriously and do the best we can and provide the resources and be willing to have a conversation jointly. So this is why this item is before us. I'm happy that we're having this discussion, but I want to hear from you all on what you think. That button again. Yes, go first.
Button on?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's good.
Is the goal of this committee immediately to start working with the POA and all of those other entities, or to start primarily with the city and the staff, and then as we can move to that committee?
That would be my recommendation, is that we start with staff and 2 council members identify our priorities and how we move forward, and then from there bring in appropriate parties as necessary.
would like to be careful to not reinvent the wheel. If we have 3 different committees that are doing the same thing, that seems kind of counterproductive. It
Yeah,
would be good
and-
if we could all be together.
Yeah, and the example too is obviously if we're going to look at the possibility of the POA partnering with the city on a joint contract for public safety, it would be nice to have a committee in place to go have conversations with the sheriff's department and look at, what it would be to bring on another deputy, what it would be to run a patrol on Railroad Canyon and run a motorbike. Those are the avenues I think that we need to address, and if we have something in place, it's easy just to go do that instead of trying to reach out and coordinate, so it streamlines the process a little bit.
If I can add really quick too, just for clarification. So this isn't just about meetings. It's also if there's something that's of more of other interest that maybe requires some feedback from the council, this would allow us to go to the 2 and really get some feedback and avoid any kind of Brown Act, associated issues. And it could be anything from police services to fire to animal control to building permits, anything public safety related. So it really allows staff to have, 2 dedicated council members that are fully immersed into safety related issues for the city.
Good? All right, discussion. Volunteers.
I agree, this is a great opportunity for 2 councilmen to focus on an issue, join in with representatives from other organizations that we can work with. And obviously to have, if 5 of us went in and every other organization had 5, we'd have 20 people in the room, and then support staff, we'd have 40 people in the room. 40 people in a committee's generally not, it's a nice public display, right? But it's really not noted that it gets anything done. So I think these ad hoc committees for what's important to us are just a great idea, and this one should move ahead. And of course, we look for volunteers for this, but there you go.
Any other comments? Mr.
I would
Terry?
volunteer.
Okay. If it's okay, I would like to volunteer with you, if that's okay with the council. Is there an issue with that? No. Okay. You okay with that, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I'm happy to let
I think
you
we
guys
have,
step
I
up.
think we have one for you already in mind, so the city manager has some ideas, so. Okay, do I need a motion or a second on this? Yes, please. Okay, I need a motion and a second that the council is appointing myself and Mr. Terry to our Public Safety Ad Hoc Committee.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Mix it up, yeah. All right, last item, here we go. Item number 11, this is a discussion item on establish the appropriation process for determining public convenience. This is for ABC, right? Alcohol beverage control?
Yes, sir.
City planner, this is yours.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
nice to be last.
Sorry about that.
That's quite all right. So as you mentioned, we received correspondence from ABC, and they simply want to know what process we want to use whenever they receive a request. So there's 3 options. We propose that you designate the city manager or their designee as the individual that would go ahead and take that action, as opposed to the council at large or passing it back to ABC. I think the purpose of the legislation was simply to allow jurisdictions to look at the number of applications that come in, and if they feel that an area is too greatly impacted or too concentrated with alcohol sales in a particular area, they could have some sort of control over that. So our recommendation to you this evening is that you designate the city manager and/or his/her designee to make the determination of the public convenience or necessity for persons or premises applying for an ABC license.
Perfect. Do we have any public comments? Okay. Any discussion from council on it?
My only discussion, I think this is a great idea. I would just say if the general manager ever felt that it was,
City
the
manager?
application rose above the threshold that she was comfortable with, that she'd feel free to bring it to council as a whole. That would be my comment.
Yes, and again, Public Safety Committee would be a great group to run it by, too.
Oh, look at that, working together. I love it. Any other comments? All right, I agree. I'm good with it. I think the city manager is definitely appropriate to handle that. So with that, I do need a motion and a second.
Motion.
I'll second it. Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Castillo. Aye. Councilmember Dane.
Aye.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Welty.
Aye.
Mayor Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried to approve item number 10.
Awesome. We are moving on. City manager comments.
Okay, just want to say thank you again to the community for their warm welcome and to staff. Staff's been tremendous and I've been so impressed so far and just really looking forward to working with all of them. And of course, thank you to all of you for the opportunity again. I want to take a moment to thank Anna. She's been such a great asset and so helpful. I'm going to miss her already. I just got to know her in a month. But she's definitely been an asset to the community, an asset to me, so thank you. I know she is going to be amazing in Yucaipa, and she's going to have a great career, and so maybe one day she'll come back. We'll see.
I love it.
And one last update, I'm going to make it for the chief because I want to give him credit for this, and also Corey. We are pursuing a SAFER grant, which is for firefighters, to potentially hire up to 6 firefighters to actually be able to equip and run our patrol, which would allow us potentially in a second auto aid, maybe more mutual aid for the city. We're very optimistic. The grant is due March 17th, so Corey and the chief are working very hard to pull something together, and we're doing it together as a team, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed that we're able to bring additional services to our community at very little cost to us.
Love it. Great update. All right, moving on to council comments. I'm just going to, boom, go with you and then just work the way down. So no Russian roulette tonight, folks.
Okay. Again, thank you, Anna, for all of your hard work, all the fun, just all of the good times that we've had, and I'm grateful for you. I have a really good understanding of what a city clerk does, and then I saw the plus you did, the many hats, and I'm blown away that you've been able to accomplish so much. I remember when you were, hey, we need to digitize the city, just the documents and the so much. So thank you for all of that. I don't have too much to update, except I did get 2 text messages. The Canyon Lake Majors team is beating Temescal Valley 17-2.
Priorities, please.
In the third, and the Canyon Lake 50-70 team is beating Corona 8-2. And although I am missing both my son's games, I did get a message that Graham hit a home run.
Yes.
So wearing my shirt was good luck tonight.
Yes.
And
Proud mama.
that is my Canyon Lake update.
I love it.
Baseball scores from the Little League.
That's why it's paradise.
Yep.
Councilwoman Dane, you're up.
I would like to officially welcome Nicole. Excited to have our new city manager, and I appreciate what she's already done and what I know she's going to do going forward for the city. In the time between our last council meeting and today, we lost another law enforcement professional, not in Canyon Lake, but close by in our neighboring community. And it was really nice to see all of the support when the procession for Deputy Haney came by, and just a reminder again about how much Canyon Lake supports our law enforcement. And as a little advertisement, the Canyon Cowboys having a fundraiser along with the Veterans and First Responder Group on March 28th, with proceeds going to the Haney family.
That's great.
Poppy update. Still not expecting the poppies to be as bad as 2019. It's from my RCA meeting. But they're going to be probably more than what they originally thought because we've had some extra rain.
Yeah.
And then last but certainly not least, we're going to miss you. Happy to have been able to work with you for the time that I did, and Yucaipa is lucky to have you.
Absolutely. All right, Councilmember Terry.
Welcome, Nicole. Had an opportunity to work with you, I believe that was yesterday. And I think what Nicole is going to bring to the residents of Canyon Lake is a willingness to dig deep and get involved in anything that we can do to improve the life of our residents. And yesterday specifically, as you heard John Grande mention, we did meet. We have be our second meeting, and our sole purpose of that meeting is to come up with ideas on how we can support our local businesses, both our brick and mortars, both our at-home businesses, and I think those have been some real fruitful discussions, and I'm looking forward to revealing more in the future. Finally, Anna, I think Jennifer and I can really relate coming in a very unique way, in the way that you welcomed us to the council. And I don't know if I said it earlier, but you know, you reminded probably Jennifer as well as I, you are council members, and made us feel very welcome. The ability to call you when I had a question, always answering the phone. If you weren't available, you would generally text. You're going to be sorely missed. And Yucaipa has picked up a sensational city clerk, and I wish you all the best of luck once again to both you and your family.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I attended a legislative workshop earlier in the month. It was an opportunity that we brought in 2 new board members, an opportunity to somewhat go over the history of Legislature. And for those who don't know, it's Lake Elsinore San Jacinto Watershed Authority. And it basically is concerned, again, see, look at Andy, even as she's leaving, she's still giving me the look of, you know, I want to help you walk through this. So thank you, Anna. But yeah, we discussed the watershed's basically the water coming down from the mountains through San Jacinto and comes into our lake. And their primary concern is the nutrients that come into the lake, which create much of the algae bloom, and what they do to keep that algae bloom down. Speaking of that, on April 10th through 14th, you'll see the boat out there again doing the alum treatment. So don't be surprised. It's very safe. I wouldn't necessarily take my boat under the sprayer and see how it feels. But that being said, it will pay off, and it will allow, will restrict the blooms in the East Bay. I watched it over the years, and the blooms in the old, we get complaints now about the blooms and understanding. I appreciate the concerns. But 10 years ago, before the alum treatment came, you know, the bloom was 40, 50 feet out. It wasn't 4 or 5 feet out. So they've made some great gains, and they have brought us into compliance with federal regulations. So that's exciting. It was great to have the workshop, a lot of staff members, some local people, and we got through that. And again, when you see the boat, just, you know, it's okay. It'll work. Anna, thank you. I'll never forget what you've done for me. I appreciate it. Please come back and join us for some of our festivities. Bring the family, and let's so we can see you. And wow, talk about walking into a new world and have a great person to guide you through the process. On the staff side, I couldn't say better things about her. If she ever wants to leave, we'll have to do something to get you back. But we'll have to find a different place or a different job or whatever, because you're just such an incredible person. We would do everything we could for you, like you did for us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I'm not going to do it. If you have questions on RCTC, SCAG, RTA, please reach out to me. I have answers. Anna, tonight's about you, and I just want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for all that you've given us. Thank you for the incredible stories. It's been a great run. I'm so excited to see what you're going to do in Yucaipa, and we're always going to be here for you. We're just a text or a call away. I won't bug you at 1 in the morning on a Saturday when something comes into my email. But thank you for all that you've given, and we appreciate you so much. With that, the announcement I'm going to make is our next regular meeting will be Wednesday, April 12th at 5 p.m. for closed session and 6:30 for open session. I'm going to adjourn the meeting in honor of my good friend, Mr. Ted Hoffman, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Norco. He passed away. We were very sad to have lost him. In my mind, he was a young man, and I served with him on both RCTC and RTA, and he's an incredible definition of what Norco is. So with that, I want to adjourn the meeting to 8:30 sharp.